Greetings, technicians. This is Admin Crow here, your coach of the Toronto Star Raptors, bringing you the draft analysis for the PCL, the Pokemon Champions League, which is another singles draft league I recently joined on Discord. In this video, I'll be breaking down some of the draft that I guess some of the picks that I drafted and my game plan going into the season as a whole. So why don't we just get started? So overall, in the draft, I was looking at the Tapus and Zygarde and possibly Victini. Those are pretty high on my list. Obviously, I can't get all of them. And once the draft order came out, I ended up being, I think, 11th, which is not really good. Actually, it's probably one of the worst positions. I'd rather have like the 16th place so I can 16th pick so I can get the wheel pick, but I guess that's not the case. So obviously all the Tapus, especially Blue and Coco, is going to be gone by that point of the draft, by the time it gets to my pick, I guess. And Zygarde, I was actually sniped like literally two rounds before it gets to me. So I end up going with Victini, which I don't really mind. It is one of the mods that I really wanted to try out as a whole. Just because the mon itself is so good in draft league format, it's so versatile, it gets really hard hitting moves, such as Blue Flare and Bow Strike. And the move pool of this mon is just insane. Plus the ability Victory Star that provides more accuracy to help out with its hard hitting moves. As you can see, they only have 85 accuracy here. And it also gets moves like U-turn, which helps you grab momentum. And it's just such a versatile mod that can just basically almost fit on any type of team. So, and plus another thing is I want my fire type to be my physical attacker, simply because they can't get burned. And it gets utility moves as well, such as Thunder Wave, Toxic, and it actually gets Trick Room of its own, which actually utilize, I guess, has a really good synergy with its signature move Beak Rate. As you can see, it drops its speed by 1. So if I can, set up a Trick Room, and then from there onward, I can just spam Beak Rate to finish off an end game. And he also gets Will-O-Wisp, which is pretty nice as a utility move. I think he gets Magic Code or something. Yeah, Magic Code, which bounces back non-damaging moves. So that's gonna be really fun to use. I might use that sometimes throughout the season. So yeah, I'm really happy with my first pick. So coming back on my draft, I end up grabbing my fairy early. I want my fairy to be a high tier mon, so as you can see, I grabbed Clefable. It gets two of really great abilities, Magikarp and Unaware. Personally, I really like Unaware. Basically, it shuts down your opponent. Just Unaware ability as a whole, just because it simply shuts down your opponent's ability to sweep you, and it's like a safety button almost. And Clefable itself is pretty linear. I would say, what's the other one? Cosmic Power. Yes, it can set up both specially via Calm Mind, or both physically and specially via Cosmic Power. And its main attacking move is probably just going to be using Moonblast, or I guess a cool attack for steel types like Flamethrower. Magikarp is a really good ability as well, because it doesn't. It allows you to survive longer without taking any residual damage, both from hazards or status such as Toxic, or a what's the other one? Burn. So that's a really good option as well. So it's a really good fairy as a whole. Like if you play competitive Pokemon at all, you can't deny that Clefable is a good fairy type. And it also gets utility moves such as Heal Bell and Healing Wish. That can be really nice. It can be a support set with Thunder Wave, and I believe it also gets access to Knockoff, which is really nice, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Personally, I never use the Knockoff. I never use Knockoff when I'm using Clefable, but it's just an option. Gives me a Knockoff use as well as a bulky fairy. So I pretty much have the main pieces for my Fire, Water, Grass core and Fairy, Dragon, Steel core. So moving onward, I had to wait for a long time before it gets to my pick. I believe it's like 22 picks or something. So I end up grabbing my ground type, which is Gliscor. So Gliscor is very cool. It's one of the monsters that I enjoy using a lot. It gets the poison heal ability. That's pretty standard, but it's basically giving me a second status absorber on top of Clefable with Magic Guard and poison heal respectively. Obviously the item is going to be the most seen item, I guess, in any competitive play is going to be Toxic Orb. But one thing really cool to note is that it actually, with the new Gen 7 move tutors, it can actually run defog on top of Poison Heal, which is previously illegal, I believe. That's something really cool, and it gives me another knockoff user if I so decide to go that route. It can be really just a fat mon in general, like Clefable. I didn't really go over the stats, but Victini is self-explanatory, base 100 across the board, and Clefable doesn't really need stats because it can just sit in front of you and boost up with either Calm Mind or Cosmic Power. There's nothing really too much that you can do, depends on the ability. And Gliscor obviously have a sky-high defense. It gives me a defensive option, and as I mentioned before, a ground type, which I think is essential in a draft league format, just for all those electric types running around, the fast electric types. It's actually one of my main draft plan going into this draft is to build my team around the fast electric type. However, that didn't end up happening, as you can see. Well, as you will see later on in this video. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Gliscor. And obviously I can set up to be offensive as well if I want to run a more offensive build, since it does get a base speed of 95, which is not even half bad. It ties with a lot of Pokemon such as Zygarde 50, Electivire, and I think Kieran Black also sits at 95. So it's not even bad when it comes down to an offensive sweeper. So yeah, it gives me, I guess, good versatility both offensively and defensively. So that's like my game plan going into this draft as well. Like all my defensive mons, I don't want them to be setup fodder. I want them to be able to set up in a way or be a threat to my opponent's team in a sense. So yeah, Gliscor is a really good option in that regard. Its only main weakness is Ice, which is I guess patched up by Victini, and I will be drafting a little bit more Ice resistance later on. So right now my draft is looking like it's gonna be weak to water quite a bit, right? Because both Victini and Gliscor doesn't appreciate that. So I think what I end up grabbing next is was Primarina. So the mon I was looking at is actually Hydreigon, but I was like, I don't mind with a lower tier. So let's pull up Hydreigon here first actually, and both Primarina. I didn't end up getting Hydreigon because I think it's because my draft actually got a little bit messed up at this point. I end up getting Primarina first because I think Hydreigon's going to be sitting there for quite a bit, since other people in the draft either already got their dragons or don't really have points for a tier 2 pick anymore. So with my game plan is that going in, I was planning on getting a tier 2 mega, which allows me to get one additional tier 2 on top of that. I don't remember how exactly the point system worked out, but that was basically my game plan. That's why I end up getting Primarina first. I did end up dropping Primarina right away, but I will still quickly go over it. Oh yeah, I didn't mention the nicknames, but John, the Clefable, and Victini is going to be Aura, which is I think the name of the altar that Zeus put up to signify the victory of the gods. So it's a symbol of victory, I guess. So I just figured that it might be very fitting for Victini. Gliscor, I haven't think of a nickname yet. Oh, actually, it's gonna be Wintal. Shout out to one of my good friend, IRL, and Primarina is gonna be Azura. Anyway, So Primarina is a really solid fairy. So at this point, I was trying to patch up my ice type weakness, like I mentioned before, with the bulky water. It also gives me a second fairy on top of Clefable. Since I am gonna end up dropping it right away through free agency, I'll just be quickly going over its offensive. I guess some of the sets I can run. It actually gets dual screen. I didn't know that. I don't know if I'm gonna end up regretting it, this choice, but you guys will see. And oh yeah, also actually gets magic code as well. But what it's most known for is obviously the choice spec Moonblast spam, or the other one, Hydro Pump. Yeah, because it has a really high special attack of 126. It's not the fastest thing, but it can really dent your opponent's team. It's something that I really enjoy using on the UU ladder as well. So Hydreigon, I'm going to be coming back later because I actually dropped Primarina for Hydreigon at a later point after the draft was over. So I'll be going over Hydreigon right away after I go over the main members that I actually drafted during the draft itself. So anyways, so I got my double pick almost, and so at this point, right, this is where my draft sort of went downhill, or at least I didn't really get what I wanted, or I had to basically shake up my game plan by quite a bit. So at this point, I didn't think I would get sniped since I was looking at actually Mega Man Electric. How do I... Wait, I'm bad, hold on. Yeah, I was looking at Mega Man Electric from the beginning of the draft. It's I planned my team to... I basically planned to draft around it. However, I did get sniped 2 rounds, I think. Couple rounds, like 2 or... actually, I don't know, but I got sniped that round. Which I didn't think it would happen because it's a tier 2 Pokemon, tier 2 Mega. So I end up panic picking Mega Lopunny. I mean, I'm not saying Mega Lopunny is bad by all means. It's one of the best Megas in Draft League format in my opinion. So I believe it speed tied with Mega Man Electric. Yeah, I think they both hit a speed of 135. Yep. So I want something hard hitting and fast as well. Since I couldn't really get Mega Man Electric, I ended up going with Lopunny. It's like speed tier, like offensively wise, they're very similar in terms of stats. Mega Lopunny hits 136 and 135 on the physical side, and Mega Man Electric is 135, 135 on the special side. So that's what I end up going with. Obviously, Lopunny doesn't really have a switch in, like, it's really hard to switch into Lopunny, that's what I'm trying to say. It also gets access to priority fake out, quick attack, and high jump kick just hits so hard. It also hits ghost types with its Scrapty ability after Mega Evolving. It also gets access to the elemental punches. Oh, another magic code user. I really have to use magic code sometimes through this season. Obviously, I'm not going to be using Switch Lu because I'll be holding the Mega Stone most of the time. And I can also run Drain Punch if I so decide, if I don't want to miss, because that potential crash damage from High Jump Kick is very crucial as well. So yeah, Mega Lopunny is, I guess, in a way pretty linear, but it's so good at what it does. It's really worth my Mega pick as a whole. But the thing is, Mega Lopunny is a tier 1 pick, so I really have to shake up my draft plan going further. So that's why I didn't end up getting Hydreigon right away. I think the following round, I don't remember what I got. Oh, on the way back, I think I either got Fortress first or I got Mega Lopunny first. It doesn't matter. But I was looking at a Steel type and a Spinner as well. So Fortress is pretty much, I think, one of the best lead was spinner in the entire game. It's even better than Exegil in a sense, even though they both get Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin. It's a lot more defensive, and it also gets access to the ability Sturdy, which guarantees you hazard in the very first round. The reason I put Fortress on par, if not higher than Exegil, is because it also gets other type of hazards such as Toxic Spikes and Spikes. So I pretty much got my hazard kit in one. Plus, on top of that, it gets both Reflect and what's the other one? Light Screen? Yeah, it gets dual screen on top of hazard. That's like basically everything that you can ask for in one kit when it comes down to lead or like support in general. And it gets the ability Sturdy, obviously, like I mentioned before. Stat overall, obviously, is really good defensively and also good specially, but I think I can play around it for sure. And going further, it's not something that I can show. However, I did end up grabbing, I think, Rock MZ. So right now on my team, right, I don't really have a Pokemon that can utilize, that can utilize Rock type move too well outside of Gliscor. It's more like a deny pick from my opponent, because right now both my Steel type and Ground type doesn't resist Rock, which is kind of big. I do have Rock resistance through my Fighting type Megalopony. Obviously, I don't want it to be constantly taking hits because it's still pretty frail despite being a Mega. So I deny pick Rock MZ, and then on the way back, I grabbed a Pokemon that can utilize this pretty well, so which is Lightning Rock Dusk. It's also a mon that I really want to try out, since it gets the priority move Excel Rock. It's a 40 base power +1 priority move, similar to Quick Attack, but Rock Spam is just so good overall, and you also have the ability Tough Claws, which further boosts any type of contact moves, which in fact Excel Rock is a contact move. I actually didn't know this before I drafted this mod. Anyways, its speed tier gives me something that sits between Victini and Megalopony at 110, which is very nice, and its attack is 117, which is really good as well. Just an offensive mod. I don't even have to run Swords Dance to set up. I can just run a Bandit set. It hits incredibly hard. I almost Choice Band. Yeah. It hits incredibly hard just with the 117 base attack and Tough Claw boosted. Unfortunately, it doesn't get any hard hitting rock move that will benefit from Tough Claws, since Stone Edge doesn't actually make contact. However, I do get the option to run Drill Run, which is a ground type move with high crit ratio. At the same time, it makes contact as well. What else? What's the other one? I think I can run Crunch too. Yeah, just to make basically take advantage of my ability Tough Claws. So I'm really happy with this pick too, just to take advantage of my Rock MZ, which I didn't really have any mon that can use this previously. Okay, so right now I get to a point where I try to round off my Dragon Fairy Steel Core, so I was looking at some of the Dragon types still lying around. I was actually sniped again on another Zygarde, Zygarde 10%, which sits in tier 3. So I wasn't really picky with my dragons, so at this point I think I end up grabbing Dragouge. I'm not sure if I grabbed the Dragouge first or my next pick, which is Electivire. Sorry, because the draft is been nearly 2 weeks since the recording of this video, so I don't really remember what exactly happened. But Dragouge is a really strong dragon type that sits in tier 3 as well, since it gets access to the ability Adaptability, which pretty much doubles any type of stab that it gets, which mainly being Draco Media and Sludge Wave. So it's something that you can sleep on for tier 3 pick. Oh yeah, it's pretty good offensively, since it has a special attack of 97, and it's also relatively special bulky with special defense stats of 123. I'm not gonna go into this mon too much. Oh yeah, it also gives me toxic spikes, because this mon I also end up dropping immediately right after the draft, since I did tell you guys that I end up grabbing Hydreigon, so that's gonna be my dragon type for my Dragon Fairy Steel Core. And Electivire, I had this mon in mind just because I really want to. It's so good for its value. It's a tier 4 mon that gets access to a lot of moves, both physically and specially. It's pretty much like an electric type lower tier Victini almost. It's not very fast, but it also hits a speed of 95. It hits really hard physically, actually. It has a physical attack of 123. It gets access to all the elemental punches and ability to Volt Switch to help me get momentum. Initially, I wanted to form a dual electric core with Mega Manectric and Electivire. I pretty much only picked this mon to pair with Mega Manectric, but I did get sniped, so I just went with my initial game plan was. I didn't really think too deep into it. Electivire is also a mon that I end up dropping to help out the draft a little bit. So, oh yeah, Gable. If you get that reference, good, but if you don't, it's fine. Did I miss any nicknames? Oh yeah, here. Leone for the Mega opening. I think that's how you spell it. I have to double check on that. But Aegis or the Fortress. And of course it has to be shiny too. So moving on to my draft, I'll be going a little bit quicker since I already passed the 20-minute mark on this draft analysis. But right now I believe I only have 3 picks left, or 2 picks. Wait, how many mons do I have? I have 3 plus 6, that's 9, and I have Rocky MZ, that's 10. I feel like I have 2 more mons, which doesn't make any sense, but anyways, I end up getting 2 tier 5s to round off my draft. One being what's its name? Masquerade? Yeah, I end up getting Masquerade first because he gets the ability Intimidate and also gives me the option of Sticky Web. I pretty much only drafted this month for Sticky Web. However, it does get access to Quiver Dance as well, so it can be offensive if I so decide. And the last mon to round off my Fire Water Grass Core is whatchamacallit? Laurentis? Wait, that's not how you spell it. Laurentis? Yes, Laurentis. Laurentis is almost like a lower tier superior because it does get access to contrary as well. Obviously, it's not gonna be as fast as superior, but it gives me another trick room option, which you'll see later in the draft where or what I was trying to go with my picks or my free agency. And obviously it gets access to Leaf Storm to take advantage of contrary, and it gives me a ground resist. Yeah, it's grass typing, and it also gives me another knockoff user, and at the same time I believe it also gets defog. Yep, it gives me another defogger. So right now in my draft I have I think 3 or 4 defogger. I'm not sure if Masquerade gets defog. He might. Yeah, it does. So both my tier 5 gets defog and my tier 2 Gliscor gets defog, and I also have Rapid Spin. So it's looking pretty good, right? So however, I did end up making 3 free agency transactions right away. As I mentioned before, I dropped Primarina right away for Hydreigon. which actually really nicely with my Victini. I really had I thought about this for a long time during the draft, both during the draft and after as well, because Victini is weak to ground types, dark types, and what else? Water types. Hydreigon resists all three of these, and Hydreigon's weak to ice and fairy types, and Victini resists both of these as well. So it's very good defensive synergy. It also gives you another U-turn option, and it gives me another nice speed tier right after base speed of 100, sitting at 98, and it's just such good dragon type overall. It's much better than Dragalge for sure. Yeah, and this mod itself can run both physical and special. I don't want to reveal too much during this draft analysis, but you guys should will expect some heat later on during throughout the season. But yeah, mainly it's known to run a scarf set on a ladder, and just run the move Draco Media and Dark Pulse, and yeah, it's a really hard-hitting dragon for sure, and it also gives me another defogger if I so decide to run a bulky route, just defog and roost. So yeah, it's definitely a very strong dragon overall for sure. And I think the other two free agency that I made right away were switching Dragalge for whatchamacallit. Obviously I already have a dragon type, so that's why I'm trading Dragalge away right away. The other trade I made was Kovac. Yeah, so Kovac also gets access to T-spikes just like Dragalge, and it gives me a really bulky and reliable wall, both physically and specially. So, and the other thing good about it is because it's an ability mummy, it removes my opponent's ability BIA contact. So that's something that's really unique about this mod. I didn't really use this mod too often, or barely at all, I think. But it does get access to Nasty Plot, and it gives me another knockoff user if I so decide. It also gets momentum, which allows my other mons to set up. And it gives me another Trick Room user, which I can utilize with both Victini and my Laurentis. So overall, it's a really solid defensive mod for sure. My last transaction is, since I traded away my bulky water Primarina, I end up dropping Electivire for another tier 4 bulky water, which is Slowking actually. So Slowking is a really good regenerator core as well, and it has a huge special move pool. It also gets access to Nasty Plot, and I believe another Trick Room user. It gives me another Trick Room user, I mean. Yeah, it's a very good bulky water for sure for in its tier, and it just helps me round off my fire water grass core now that my Primarina is gone. It also gets access to, oh, it actually doesn't get Thunderbolt, I was wrong. Anyways, it gets access to Flamethrower on top of the obvious water coverage, and I can also run Thunder Wave for speed control. So yeah, it's a very solid draft, I would say overall. I'm really happy with my draft. I don't want to be dragging on this video for too long. It's already almost 30 minutes, but that's gonna be it from me for now. Admin Crow here, signing off. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye, technicians.